Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Dade. I'm going to be talking about sort of BVLOS options with ArduPilot, something I've been helping people with for a number of years now. More and more people are doing BVLOS flights these days, so I thought it'd be useful to go through what your options are for a comms data link perspective, as well as little features in ArduPilot that can help you on your way with this. All right. Okay, first one. Everyone here probably knows what BVLOS is, but for the people that don't, it's beyond visual line of sight. Pilot can no longer see the vehicle clearly enough to directly control it with RC. So at that point, you are dependent upon your GCS and your data links to control the vehicle. You're likely, at that point, you're likely out of range of your typical point-to-point SIG-based, RFD-based radio systems. So you start looking at more complex data link architectures. Exact distances will vary. For things like your point-to-point radio systems, those can go out a lot longer than you can see the aircraft. RFD 900s, they can go out for 50 Ks, but that will be highly dependent upon things like the altitude of the aircraft and obstructions like terrain, hills, buildings, and so forth. So we're generally talking about, if the aircraft's more than a few kilometers away, you are most likely flying BVLOS, unless you have really, really good eyesight. So first question, looking at the requirements, well, how much there are data links out there, well, how much bandwidth do I need? How much data does ArduPilot use on its MavLink telemetry? Under default settings, ArduPilot will typically take around 3 to 3.5 kilobytes per second. In the grand scheme of things, that's relatively small sort of bandwidth. For something like, your RFD 900s or SIG-based radios, that will use up around 50% of your available data bandwidth. If required, you can lower this. I've got a screenshot there of Mission Planner. These are what's called the stream rates in ArduPilot. Stream rates, you're basically, the GCS is telling ArduPilot how often you want ArduPilot to send the data streams back for things like the aircraft's attitude or voltage. The default for most GCSs is 4 Hertz. It will send the aircraft status down to the GCS at 4 times per second. You can make this bigger or smaller depending on your needs. If you take this down to 1 Hertz, your MavLink data rate usually goes down to about 1 kilobyte per second. That's 1 kilobyte per second during normal steady state flight. If you're doing things like uploading, downloading parameters, waypoints, and geofences, you're going to see spikes in your telemetry bandwidth. So it is something to be aware of. For things like downloading the entire parameter set from the vehicle, that's going to be quite a number of kilobytes over a very short period of time. So you do need to ensure that your data link can handle those occasional spikes in your data rate to make sure that you don't accidentally flood your radio links. You can have finer grained control of what MavLink messages you want to send. ArduPilot will send many tens of MavLink messages by default for everything from battery status, sensors like GPS, IMU, any other sensors you've got attached, as well as general system performance. So in some cases, you may not want all of this data. For example, you may not want to know about, the raw IMU values 4 times per second. That may be something you're less interested in. So what you can do is there's several ways to have more granular control of what MavLink messages ArduPilot can send. You can use the set message interval MavLink message. The GCS can tell ArduPilot, I only want you to send these particular messages. If your GCS supports that, you can use that instead of your normal stream rates. On the ArduPilot side, you can also use the stream rate parameters, which have now been renamed to the MAV rate parameters in Master 4.7 Plus, in which case ArduPilot will decide how often to send the parameters. So if you don't want the GCS to tell ArduPilot how quickly to send data, you can do that at the ArduPilot side as instead. So ArduPilot will just stream the data it wants to and ignore any messages from a potentially misconfigured GCS telling it, if the GCS inadvertently starts telling ArduPilot to send everything at 10 Hertz, you can just tell ArduPilot, no, just send everything at 1 Hertz, that's good enough for me. You can also, something I discovered recently, you can load message rates onto the SD card where you can give ArduPilot a list on the SD card, a little text file saying this mavlink message ID, then saying I want this message set every X milliseconds, I believe it's milliseconds as well. All of these methods are available on the ArduPilot wiki at that link. So there's about 3 or 4 different ways to do that, depending on what works best for you. So if 1 kilobyte a second is still too much for you, there's the Mavlink high latency protocol. This is really, really low data rate, and you are sacrificing a fair amount of knowledge about what your aircraft is doing. What the high latency protocol does is you are sending one giant Mavlink packet, the high latency to Mavlink message that contains essential status about your aircraft and transmits that around once per 5 seconds. So that's around a 52-byte packet every 5 seconds. So that is really, really low bandwidth. This is what you'd use for systems like LoRa, which are really, really low bandwidth, in addition to short burst data satellite communication systems. If you are using this, it's still a standard Mavlink channel. So if your GCS does decide to send stream rate requests or decides to try to download the parameters on a high latency link, ArduPilot will oblige and start flooding your high latency link with all that extra data. So you do have to be a bit careful to ensure that your GCS is not sending any requests that would result in a large amount of data being sent through that pipe. And there's a link there more about the high latency protocol in Mavlink as well. All right, my favorite bit, radio options. These are sort of the sorts of options that if you are doing BVLOS flights, practically what are the options I can use as of the time of writing, so mid-2025. There's your obvious cellular options, 4G, 5G, LTE, pick your flavor. Obviously, check your flight area is covered by your cellular system to begin with. You'd be surprised that the sorts of areas that drones tend to fly in remote areas tend to be the sorts of areas that are not covered by the telcos. The telcos are really good at covering areas where people are. If you are flying your vehicle where the people are not, you may run into coverage issues. Related to that, check the frequencies supported by, on one side, your telco, and on the other side, by the modem. Not all modems support all cellular frequencies, not all carriers support all cellular frequencies. So make sure that you've got the right match there. Related to that, you do want to tend to use the lower frequency bands for cellular systems. Sub 1 gigahertz is really nice. So your 900 megahertz LTE bands. Generally speaking, those lower bands will have much, much greater range from the cell tower. For things like 700 megahertz band 4G, you can easily get 20 kilometers from a cell tower. However, same cell tower, if you start using your 2, 3 gigahertz LTE bands, you're only going to get a few kilometers range because those higher LTE bands are designed for urban areas, dense coverage, lots of cell towers, and those lower frequency bands are designed for the more remote areas where you have not many people around that you still need to service, but not a lot of users. Related to that, I've had a lot of people ask, what if I want to use cellular systems when I'm out to sea, on my boat, on my aircraft? Most cases, most telcos will cover around 20 kilometers out to sea, assuming the cell tower is, close to the beach. So you can get some decent coverage out to sea if you're only remaining in that sort of coastal area. As Tridge has mentioned in his presentation, ArduPilot now has direct support via UART for a whole bunch of different cellular modems now. So you don't necessarily have to go via a companion computer like a Raspberry Pi. If you prefer, you can plug your supported modem straight into a telemetry port and go that way if you want. Satellite, my favorite. It's expensive. Satellite is really expensive. The reason for that is this, if you're using a satellite system, chances are you're using it because you have to. And the satellite providers know that and will charge accordingly. It is a lot cheaper than it used to be. 10 years ago, you were talking about dollars per megabyte sorts of fees, which did make it impractical for UAS. It is getting better, but you're still looking at satellite systems being, on average, an order of magnitude more expensive than your cellular systems. Related to that, satellite modems, and especially the antennas, are really bulky. They are not designed for UAS. It's only in the last couple of years that the satellite companies have gone and said, oh, maybe there's a market here for UAS, and have started designing smaller systems. Even so, these days, there's not many systems that will practically fit on a UAS, even the bigger ones, because when the satellite providers talk about systems that work in the air, they're usually talking about systems that will fit on your private jet, and that is a whole other size there. There are generally only a couple of systems that are small enough at the time of writing. The obvious one is your Starlink minis. If your aircraft is big enough, you could fit one of those on. Starlink minis will work fine. There's Iridium Certus as well, which is a little bit smaller, a little bit more expensive. The modems can be the antennas can be about yay big. They're a bit smaller than your Starlink minis. As well as there's a few other providers that do short burst data. Short burst data is kind of like, it's the SMS of the satellite world, where you are just sending a small asynchronous message that will be received later, that will be received in 60 to 90 seconds. ArduPilot does have support for some Iridium SBD systems, which you can connect via the UART directly to the system as well. And then you've also got systems like meshed radios as well, like your Silver systems. And you could also use a second aircraft as a relay system if you wanted to as well. Nothing wrong with doing that. Dealing with multiple links, I would say if you do have multiple telemetry paths, be careful about when you are splitting your packets out and integrating them back together at the end. There are some software like Mavlink Router or MavP2P that will do this automatically, but something to be aware of is when you have Mavlink packets coming in, to make sure you deduplicate them. You don't want to have a Mavlink packet come in on one link and then maybe 2 seconds later the same packet come in on your other link, because that will really mess up your GCS. If you are Another thing to be careful of is ArduPilot by default will bridge Mavlink messages between any Mavlink-enabled telemetry ports. If you have Mavlink message coming in on telemetry 1, it will be bridged over and spat back out on telemetry 2 if they're both Mavlink, for example. So you do have to be careful that you don't create loops where you send a command from your GCS over one link, ArduPilot bridges this, and the same command comes back to your GCS on the other link. I think I'm going. A few other considerations. Do you need real-time video? If you do, minimum of 100 kilobits a second for H.265 or 265 video. Usually you'd be looking at megabit level data rates if you're looking for high-quality video. Do you need access to any ongoing computers like SSH and so forth? Does the GCS also require multiple telemetry links? This is particularly important if your GCS is out in the middle of nowhere with your aircraft. It's no good if your aircraft has five telemetry links and your GCS has one and that one fails and you don't have connection to your vehicle anymore. If you're running GCS failsafe, make sure you figure out which GCS that refers to if you are running multiple laptops with multiple GCSs, such that if one GCS laptop fails, the aircraft does not go into GCS failsafe, even though the other GCS laptops are already still online. There's been some work done recently by Tridge and I think Peter as well, to expand out some extra parameters for having multiple GCS Mavlink IDs. Finally, quick 30 seconds on cybersecurity. Just the obvious, because you are trying to control a vehicle via comms links, make sure those comms links are protected. You don't want other people trying to control your drone. Use encryption. Don't use the default passkeys, please. I've seen too many people do that. If you're transiting the public internet for any of your links, use things like VPNs, IPsec, or Mavlink siding as well, so that you know that only the right packets are getting through and other people can't have fun with your vehicle. Additionally, if you have a choice, use UDP connections where possible, just because with TCP does not work very well in lossy comms conditions because it is constantly trying to reconnect and you just get more and more dropped packets. Brief example of what a system might look like. So this is a sort of a triple redundant system where sort of on the, is that left? Yes, on the left in the blue rectangle, you've got your aircraft. On the right, you've got your GCS. For example, you might have something like an RFD 900 as your primary link while you're still within visual line of sight of the aircraft for takeoff and landing and so forth. Then you might have a satellite and 4G connection as well, and that's negotiated via a companion computer like a Raspberry Pi via a separate telemetry port. Then on your GCS side, you've got the other end of that. You've got your the other end of your RFD 900 hooked up to one of your GCS laptops. And then below, you've got dual internet connections, possibly a cable connection and a 4G backup as well. And your satellite and 4G will transit the internet, come in via those dual connections to both of your GCS laptops. And from that sort of setup, you have a fairly redundant setup. It looks like that is very good timing. So just as they waved the sign at me. So that's a very, very quick introduction to BVLOS comms with ArduPilot. Thank you.